Today I will be changing out my old alternator, which is no longer working, and replacing it with this new rebuilt alternator, and also replacing my serpentine belt with this new one here. I'll first be taking my air intake off by just removing this strap here using 10mm socket, and then also got to take off this plastic cover right here with two 10mm sockets, and then I can access the second strap that's very similar to this one that's underneath that plastic cover there. And then we'll take off my serpentine belt and then access my alternator, which is down below the motor there. Super easy on a Toyota Tundra 4.7 liter V8. So first things first, you want to disconnect the negative side of your battery. Just use another 10mm socket to take that off. Once I remove that, it eliminates all the power going to the alternator throughout the car, prevent any issues. So now that I got the battery disconnected, I'm gonna take this cover off. I used a 10mm socket to take these bolts off. Cover pops off. Just gonna unscrew it here a little bit more. Once I get this cover off, I should be able to access a band that's underneath there, and then use another 10mm socket to take it off to get my air intake off. And the only reason why you're taking this small piece off is so I can better access the belt and then pull the alternator out through the left hand side, passenger side of my truck there, through the engine compartment. This eliminates having to take off your tire or any other way you've probably seen out there. It makes it super easy. So now we're going to go underneath my truck. I did lift my truck up with jacks just a bit off the ground, my front end, both sides with those jacks there. So I want to get under here and access my skid plate. Basically, I'm going to take using 12mm bolts that hold on my skid plate, plus a few little 10mm screws there, bolts there that hold on to just the plastic front. Once I take those off, those pop right off. I remove my skid plate. You got to remove the bolts and then shift the whole skid plate towards the driver's side, like over to the side, and then back towards the back of the truck, and then that will allow you to remove the skid plate. Okay, so looking straight up into the engine compartment, you got the two bottom pulleys, the one that attaches to the pulley for the alternator, and then the tension pulley, which there is better. You can see my tools on it. You just looking up at it, you move to the left, like so, releases the tension off the thing, and the belt comes off. So, and that's with a 14mm socket. Alright. So, alternator, up in here, there's this clip right here that holds power on right here. It clipped on right here. You just pull back this little tab and it clips off from the bracket right here. And then back up there is the power nut. So there's a nut. It's 10mm, and I just got a little small socket, and I'm going to loosen it up. Once you loosen it up, it gets pretty easy. The next power is up top on there, that plug, and I have no clue how to get that thing off. I've been trying. Like I said, I'm an amateur, so I'm going to kind of loosen this thing up and then see if I can get a better grip on that thing and figure out how it's clipped on there. But I don't want to break it because it's AKA plastic. Taking off the alternator butt bolts right there, and the top one you see just above it, right up there, and then this guy down low. 14 mil for these. Power nut back there to the back of the alternator, and then this is the bottom bolt. Very bottom of the alternator, working on it. So before we go any further, we have to unbolt the power steering pump. To do that, I need to go through the pulley on the power steering pump to access the bolts to the power steering pump. I must remove that to get the alternator ultimately out, because it bumps up against it and it's in its way. and that's the only way to get that alternator out with this method, as far as not taking off any tires and coming up through the engine compartment of my truck. So accessing it through the pulley, there's holes in the pulley, just go right through the holes in the pulley with a socket wrench and access those. So now back on top, above my power steering pump, I got to loosen one bolt that attaches my alternator, which is on the right there. It's a 14 millimeter, using a 14 millimeter socket for that guy, and then also a nut and bolt on my power steering pump. So power nut, bottom bolt to the alternator, and then this nut is the upper one, which this one here is a 14 and this is a 12, so two different sizes, which is cool. Alright, so I just want to get something clear. So one video I saw, it said remove two nuts, or two bolts. It's two bolts and one nut. So bolt here, you go through the pulley. This is for the power steering pump. A bolt down here goes through the pulley, you access it, you do it from bottom. And then this nut up here, super easy. You also go through the pulley and undo this nut. And then you'll be able to move the power steering pump, which then allows you to pull the alternator. I just pushed the power steering pump down into there. I had to undo, get that top nut out, and then undo this plug here, which of course the quick release dealio is on the back, and so it was just hard for me to. I don't understand how these work. Like I said, I'm a novice, so I don't know. Push on the back there of the clip, and it lifts up that trap there. And then I've now pushed the alternator down, and then I have this plug, which I couldn't get. Again, I don't know how they work, right? So that plug is right here, and if you see it, it also has a push at the top, and it's just one-sided, so at the top push. And I couldn't see that, so I was like fumbling around. Once you get it off like this, it's super easy. And now I'm going to take it out. They say you can take this out, but I'm going to try and see if I can just maneuver it without removing this. I think I can. There you have it. I have it out. It went through the hole. I left the bolt in there. I didn't take off my tire, and I got it out. Now I'm going to compare it to my other one and place the new one back in. There she is. Alright, here's the two side by side, the rebuild one and the old one I took out. This came with this power bolt there, and then one thing I've heard, sometimes they don't come with the spacers. This one comes with the spacers, two of them, as you got two spacers here and here, and this is the same thing. You see their back spacer there, spacer there. They look pretty identical. So I'm going to put it in now. Alright, Alto. Alright, and I'll send this core back, get my 40 bucks. Alright. Alright, so I put the new alternator in. Everything goes in a little easier than comes out. Had some trouble getting the alternator and the pump, power steering pump, playing, do-si-do around each other, but other than that, it's pretty simple. Trial and error. Okay, this piece here is the bracket piece that comes off the old alternator, and I have to put it on the new one. It just holds the power wire. It's just a bracket for it, and it's pretty easy, just 10 millimeter. Okay, I have the serpentine belt all on. Just a little bit of information for you. When you apply tension to the tension pulley with the socket wrench, right next to the tension pulley there's a 5 millimeter hole that you can stick a Allen wrench into and keep that tension on there as you finish putting on the belt. It just helps, especially when you're by yourself doing it. It helped me out a lot. I just figured I'd let you know about it. So if you're doing it by yourself, just makes the whole operation go a lot faster and easier. Alright, now that we got the belt installed, alternator installed, go ahead and install back on the air intake tube. The plastic cover goes back on using the 10mm bolts. Straps back all tight. And got the belt there, got the new alternator. And now go ahead and hook up the battery. And we should be able to give her a start. Okay, I'm going to go over the job breakdown. First, we disconnected the battery. Second, we removed the air intake tube. Third, we chalked and jacked up the truck. Fourth, we removed the skid plate. Fifth, we removed the serpentine belt. Sixth, we unbolted the alternator. Seventh, we unbolt and removed the steering pump. And eighth, we went back and removed the alternator and replaced it.